Mostly pottery. Herbs. Recently, I am fond of
mild
the
habit of
ocarina.
saving broken objects. Mostly pottery, plates, glasses. The pieces usually end up in the garden with the larger ones used to
her
provide shelter for
suggestion,
herbs.
saying that
Recently, I dropped and broke into several pieces a large ocarina that my family had given me as a birthday present some time ago.
no special
I am fond of the
reason,
ocarina and
just
was saddened by its demise. My partner suggested I glue it back together. In the moment I gave in to my disappointment and dismissed her
lovely,
suggestion,
low,
saying that it
airy
wouldn't be the same
whistle
afterward.
coming from the...
It sat on a bookcase for months. A few days ago I decided to glue it back together. No special reason, just an impulse. I glued and rubber banded it and set it back on the shelf. This morning, while on the back deck, I heard a lovely, low, airy whistle coming from the house. My son was playing the
air
with
escapes
ocarina.
from
It was
now.
indeed different than when it was whole. It had gained an appealing whistle-like buzz similar to ethnic flutes that employ rice paper as resonators. This is due perhaps to the small
mulling
over
over
that
this.
air escapes from now. The ocarina has commenced a second life, offering me another opportunity to enjoy it and benefit from its character.
From a local
I was
potter
mulling over this
several years
experience when it occurred to me that there was another broken relationship waiting to be repaired. 2 stoneware vases that I had bought from a local
I
potter
had
several
been
years
using
ago were
them
lying
in
in
my
pieces in my
electro-
garden. The vases, bottles really, were quite resonant when blown across the opening, and I had been using them in my electroacoustic composition
A year
during
or
free
so
improv
after I had
performances.
acquired them,
I was fond of the deep, mellow sounds they made. A year or so after I acquired them, my cat knocked them off a shelf in my studio and they shattered on the cement floor. There didn't seem to be much hope of repairing them, and I let my disappointment get the better of my resolve. I placed them in the garden just outside the door to my studio. They've been there for a couple of years now.
To be where
This spot of garden happens to be where I pee when I'm in the studio late at night and don't want to go all the way back into the house, or just because I like to pee outside.
Sometimes
while
while
peeing, I direct the stream over the pottery shards. They glisten faintly in the night light. Once, when the moon was full, they glinted with beautiful stars of green and blue and red as my urine washed over them. I thought of how I had a relationship with the bottles, though they were broken and no longer resonant. This silly ritual sustains my appreciation, and coupled with the fact that the broken pieces are the first things I see when entering the studio, serves to keep the relationship alive, at least in my subconscious. After the opening event, the bottles called out of memory and demanded reconstitution. I dug into the spot of garden where the bottles had been resting and gathered all the pieces I could find. After washing them, I was pleased to find that they were not decayed or stained in any way. The jagged edges were as if newly broken. The glaze still held its luster. I put them in the oven to dry. After piecing them together without glue to discover the best assembly sequence, I found one piece was missing. A quick inspection of the garden was fruitful, and I prepared to assemble. The bottles came together fairly easily, with the most difficult part being the reconstruction of the shattered mouth of one, using polyvinyl acetate, Elmer's glue, and rubber bands. The bottles were soon standing upright, looking for all intents and purposes whole. A few remaining chinks and cracks I filled with softened beeswax. Several drying hours later, I lit each of mine blow across the mouths to produce this familiar mellow tones, not as resonant and full as before, but warm and welcome just the same.
remaining chinks and cracks. Familiar mellow tones, not as